election time, election results, and this is the custom at Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia. It's unanimous. For the 2003-2004 officers, President, serving his second term, Bill Weber. You may hold the ball. Nothing personal. Vice President, first Vice President Frank Hogan. Would you stand, Frank? Second Vice President Jerry Wilkinson. Third Vice President Gary Reisman. And the one office that may go on continually in our group, we have Shirley Morris.
Thank you, Shirley.
We have an advisory advisor, he's not elected, he's there forever, and that's Robert I. Gold. Board of Directors, Pat Delsey, past chairman for 2 years, and remains the chairman of the board until the next election. Pat. And for the third term, 3-year term, excuse me, these are the elected directors. Herb Clark, Loretta Bobet Crowell, Austin Colmer, Tom LeMaine, Sue Furman, Paul Norton, Jory Lenz, Les Waz, Marie Cantorelli. Best wishes to all.
Thank you very much. Now let me introduce our guests, and we've had a good time at our table talking about old times. This is Banyan Productions. I don't know how familiar you are with this organization, but they are the producers of the most watched television show on cable television throughout the entire United States called Trading Spaces. Just an unbelievable program, and they'll explain to you how it came about. They are producing something like 500 hours of television shows on several different cable networks every year. And these are our people. These are people who have grown up in this market, people who headquarter themselves in Philadelphia, people who have associations with Channel 17, Channel 3, Channel 6, and they are really the most popular of all these production companies. And I can't tell you how many stars, how many celebrities know about Trading Spaces. I've heard people talk about that show ad infinitum. It is a phenomenon, and we're so pleased to have them. Let me introduce them to you. If they'll come up and take a seat at the table. Susan Cohen-Dickler, Jan Dickler, and Ray Murray. Jan was in Channel 3 and Channel 6 and Channel 17. Susan was Channel 3. Ray was with Evening Magazine. I don't know if you remember that. He tells me that there are 4,000 videotapes of Evening Magazine, and he's on 3,000 of them. So without any further ado, if you'll take your microphones, we'd like to, let me start off by saying, how did Banyan Productions come about? And why did you pick that lovely tree that grows in India and in Hawaii as your logo? You want to start, Ray?
I can. We have known each other for many, many years. We've been best friends for a long time. We started this company in 1992, but Susan was my boss. She was my executive producer on Evening Magazine for many years. And first of all, the name came about because I was on assignment for Evening Magazine for her in St. Croix in about 1990 or something, 91, when we were just starting to talk about having a company. And I was sitting under a banyan tree with one of the residents of the island, and he was explaining to me how the banyan tree worked, that it had a very solid trunk, and that as the tree grows out, it gets huge, and the branches actually grow out and take root. And I thought, well, that would be a cool name for a company, because you could have a real strong trunk that formed a partnership, and then as you grew out, as the company grew, it would have the infomercial tree, and the reality tree, and the documentary tree, and these video branches. And as I was saying, it was better than Rum Punch Productions, which I also had in my hand at the time. It was a choice, but I thought they played better. the band.
And if you've ever seen the logo, it's a leaf of a banyan tree falling into a pool of water. Lovely, very, very lovely. Susan, tell us how it was being the boss and now being a partner. Does that change things a little bit?
Yes, it does. Thanks for asking.
Susan is the chairman of Banyan Productions. She's still the boss.
Still the boss.
No, it's been great. I often people look and say, well, how did you do this and what happened? I know for me personally, it's something I wouldn't have done myself, and I feel really lucky to have two partners to share it with, you know, the good stuff and the bad stuff. So actually that adjustment's been pretty easy. You know, with Evening, Ray was a producer and a host and was really involved in the creative show and was actually on the show before me. So even when I came on as executive producer, I relied on him a lot, and we had a very good collaborative relationship. So that's been a pretty easy adjustment.
And Jen, tell us, maybe you could give us the story how Trading Spaces came about. Am I correct in saying it's the most viewed television show in cable?
Yeah.
Pretty close,
We
huh?
are. Well, first of all, Trading Spaces runs 14 times a week, so it's pretty easy to be there. But the thing, Trading Spaces is just really a product of the collaboration that Susan and Ray and I spent 8 years developing. It came to us. We didn't create the show. It was based on a format that was created in Amsterdam and sold essentially to the BBC, who run it, and had our show called Changing Rooms. TLC bought that format. They brought it to America. They had another company produced the first year. They had a lot of trouble with it. And we had just been doing, up to that point, we had delivered, just for the folks at Discovery, about 2,700 hours of programming in our 8 years before that. And so they just really came to us and said, can you help us with the show, and can you solve the problems with it? And we said, sure, why not? What else we could do? And so the first thing we did is they had a host of the show. Her name was Alex. What was her last name? Wow. Alex was a beautiful, wonderful, beautiful young lady. And our first assignment, we literally accepted the job on a Wednesday, and Friday we flew out. Ray and I flew out. Susan was running the rest of the company. And we met with Alex to convince her that she really should stay and become part of what our efforts were to try to grow the show. And we had a lovely lunch. She was charming, delightful, beautiful, beautiful woman. Ray and I got back on the plane literally that afternoon. When we landed in Philadelphia, she had resigned. And to this day, I think, Ray blames me. I think I spit some cheese at her. But
I've had lunch with them before, and I can't say I blame her.
but we were able to find a replacement. Her name was Mindy Davis. And we asked Mindy, what's your middle name? She said Paige, and he said, Paige Davis, that's the name. And you know, it just was one of those, it's a show that requires a tremendous amount of production. It's very difficult. Just a lot of different elements, and there are many different personalities, a lot of different talent elements that go into it. And we were just, so what we do is we were able to really have the shows look good. And I don't think we had anything to do with it succeeding in prime. It was kind of a fluke. They ran out of two shows. That's not funny. Now they're making fun of me. They put their mics down. But I just want to say that show ran in, the thing about Banyan is the show ran in Access. It wasn't a primetime show. And then by mistake, they ran it one night in Prime. And it was the number one show in their history of TLC. And so then it became a primetime show, but we were doing it for different budgets. And so then they realized that that was a good idea. And so it just kind of happened. But really, it was built on the backs of a wedding story and a dating story and a makeover story which we created and worked for a lot of different people.
Ray, why do you think so many celebrities watch Trading Spaces? Unbelievable, the amount of different celebs who talk about that show.
I'm not sure exactly why so many celebrities talk about it. Maybe it's because this is finally a show that is so accessible to so many people. I mean, I think you can watch it for any number of different reasons. First of all, you can watch it if you are interested in sort of home design. And second, you can watch it if you're interested in great personalities. And third, I think the reason why a lot of people watch it is for that great reveal at the end when people see their rooms for the first time. Because even a celebrity can relate to seeing a redesigned room for the first time. It's hard to know why it's become such a cult hit. I think one of the other reasons why is because
this cast of characters that is the designers is designed so that you're going to like some of them and you're not going to like some of them. It's designed that way. You know, that's the interior design, you're not going to like everybody's design. So it's just a great, appealing show that just appeals to people at every level.
So really, the backbone of your company, though, was that home show that you started. How long has that been on the air?
Let's see, Homemakers has been on the air 9 years. Actually, we are not producing any more of them, unfortunately, but it was what started us. We did Homemakers, and we did a show that was also, and we did some infomercials based in the Philadelphia area. But Homemakers totally launched us. I mean, that was our first show, and it was for Discovery. And I think after we did that, we developed relationships there. People started to enjoy working with us most of the time. And we launched from there. Then if they had a new show, they would ask us to do it as they did with Trading Spaces, and it's grown from there. It's been a great relationship.
And 9 years is an eternity, isn't it?
9 years is an unbelievable run in the TV world, as you guys all know. So.
Not as long as sitting up here, but you know, if you look at all of our shows, what we try to do is to form a physical reaction in the viewer. If you watch the television and you're watching it as a viewer, we're the producers, you're the viewer, and you need to have a physical reaction. Are you reacting in any way to the work? That's all of our work. And in cable, there was no promotion, so you had to do something to a viewer to get them back every day. And we call it the habituated viewing. We try all of our TV is redemptive. You're supposed to come to the end of it, and you're supposed to feel it, and you're supposed to feel good about it, because without promotion in cable, you come back tomorrow. We do a wedding story. We've done over 800 episodes. It's our 8th year of a wedding story. And at the end of every wedding story, if it does not leave our shop unless one of us is crying. That's what we do for a living. Can you give something back to the viewer and make them feel good about themselves? But as Ray will say all the time, he says it every day in our organization, now there are 200 people there, is it real? Is it happening? Are we making it up, or is it real? Our job is really to try to capture something that is real and distill it. And then when we succeed, you feel it as a viewer. And when we fail, we fail in episodes, we don't feel it. And that's when we have to work harder.
And Harvey works for you, doesn't he? Harvey, you listen to him on Magic in the morning. He explores your site explorations. I talked to a little bit about him. John Harvey?
Well, Harvey has been part of Trading Spaces for a couple of years now. He's unbelievable. He spent the first couple of years traveling around the country. He was our location staff.
Right.
And once we sort of accepted an application for Trading Spaces, he went out to make sure that the house fit the qualifications, the specifications that we needed to do the show, met the people, made sure they were articulate, and that they were good guests for the show.
He was also on the air with you.
He did a show
on This Old House, sort of
a show called Give Me Shelter. He hosted for us for a couple of years that was on Discovery, and Harvey's a natural. He's just a natural. And now he has been promoted to coordinating producer of Trading Spaces. So he's not on the road as much, but he's more responsible for the content and making sure that everything gets done appropriately.
Jan, tell me about starting in Philadelphia, something like this. You have over 200 employees?
Yeah, we do. Well, you know what? Philadelphia, for what we do, is like the Galapagos Islands. Ray, Susan, and I can sit at lunch, and we can tell you our ideas, we can talk about them, we can fight about them, we can talk about new ideas. And there are no networks in Philadelphia that buy our products, so it's just been a great place for us to develop a relationship and bring people in and kind of just develop in a way that we see now just wouldn't happen in Los Angeles. And so it's an advantage to be in Philadelphia.
Say something too? Go ahead.
We started, there were 5 of us in Jan's and my basement at 901 Lombard Street. And when we walk through now in the Penn Mutual building, we are shocked most days when we see all of the people that work for us now. I don't know that we envision it necessarily growing to this degree. I mean, I think it's been like a one day at a time, and we often say if we knew everything now, that if we knew it all then, I'm not sure we would have necessarily taken all the steps, but it's been great. The other thing I always think is so interesting is that we have producers from all over the country. A lot of people from Los Angeles, a lot of people from Chicago, Florida, New York, that actually now, based in Philadelphia. And I think it's just been a great, for us, that's, I think, my favorite thing, to go to work and walk through the hallways and see the people that have chosen to work with us. I mean, we have what we call talk show refugees. Just did that for so long, we couldn't do it anymore. And I think the redemptive nature, as Jan says, of the programming has attracted just incredibly talented people, which has really been a gift for us.
As we were talking about at our table with Wee Willie, when we started, the mean age, when there were 30 people at Banyan, we added up all of our ages, and the mean age was 27, and we're coming up to our 12th year in our partnership together, and the mean age is 27. It's the same thing. We're older, but what's great about it, it's not the number of people. The only thing that matters really is what goes out in the air, and is it a good experience for the viewer, period. Between the producer and the viewer, there's nothing in between. There are no ratings, there are no advertisers at Banyan. It's just the viewer, and that's great. But really, for us, bringing in Philadelphia, to be able to bring a lot of young people into this process, as all of us did. Ray, first job in radio in California. His first job in radio. He goes out to a runway, and off walks President Nixon, who just resigned as president, and that was his first interview. Susan in Chicago, TTW. Who was the guy who came in? John Housen came in and yelled at her for the first day. My first job at PBI, Lillian Gish came in. You know, but now we have young people that go through this process, and our responsibility is to make sure that they come in and understand what it is to be a broadcaster. And then 50 years from now, that they're talking about having met us. You know what I mean? That the process that all of us, we're all the same. We're only separated by age. You, me, and the 18-year-old intern that I talked to yesterday, we're all on the same journey, and that's what we're trying to give them. That's what broadcasting is, right? It's your
And the Nicholas are local. You were raised in
Cheltenham.
Town.
There you go. Now Ray is an outsider, but
Well, I've been here for so long. I landed in Philadelphia on October 3rd, 1979, the same day that the Pope came down. And as the taxi cab driver was driving me into KYW for my first visit, I thought, boy, they really know how to make people welcome here. Unbelievable, they're lighting the streets, this is great.
is that who's up there with Ray Murray?
Exactly.
Ray, how do you go from celebrity, being on the air doing 3,000 evening magazines, to looking at the books, or cooking the books, or whatever you do with the books?
Cooking the books. I made the transition very easily, and actually now I just want to make sure everywhere I sit there's good lighting, that's all I want. But no, I'm living my dream right now. I stumbled into the whole on-air part of being in television by accident, way back in Reno, Nevada in '77, and you know, it's just an accident kind of, and when I learned how to edit in Reno, I realized that the storytelling part of television is really the most rewarding part of it, when you learn how to tell that story. And so all through the part where I was doing on air, I kept trying to figure out a way that I could really start a production company. And so for me to say that I'm living my dream right now, that is the greatest accomplishment of my life. And to be with two people that I would take a bullet for, and their children, my children, that is the even better part of it. So I have had a very easy transition.
It does have your eyes.
Thank you.
Tell a story about Evening Magazine and the trading of tapes. I think that this is the first company, the first outfit that ever did that on television. Tell the difference, how many different Westinghouse stations had that?
I mean, how PM and EP Magazine worked? Right. It was really one of those brilliant concepts in television, actually, because back in '76, I guess, there were 5 EP magazines around the country, and very successful, all owned by Westinghouse stations. And Bill Hillier came up with the concept of let's start sort of a franchise of EP Magazine with other non-Westinghouse stations, where each city would have its own 2 hosts, but we'll all bicycle each other's stories around. We'll all trade each other's
Make it common reel.
Exactly. If you made a national reel, it would make it look as if a local station had the resources of a national network, with stories coming in from all across the country. So it was really a great, efficient, and economical way to do television. And it's still, I'm amazed more people don't do it now today even. So it really stood the test of time. I was on the air for 12 years, our evening magazine at KYW was 14 years, so it was a good thing.
And tell about the phone call you got from your archivist down there.
Oh, just last week, yeah. There are 4,000 episodes of evening magazine, and I was on 3,500 of them, which is. And I got a call from the archivist at KYW the other day. Said we're going to throw them out. So if you want any of them? Oh my God! So I really ran down there. I took one look at the vault, the filing cabinet, the roads. It was a football field long. I immediately went and had a drink. And trying to figure out exactly how to do this.
The day I fell in love with my dear partner Ray was the day when there was an edict. I think I guess 6 months when Susan was EP, and it came down. She said, "Well, every episode has to be done live in the field. We have ENT equipment. We want to be out in the field. We've got prisoners, so every day live." And that was great for the first month and a half. But then where do we go tomorrow? And then there's an episode, my favorite episode of Ray Evening. It's live. They come up. And he's in it's Cherryville High School East, and they're in an auditorium, and there is a ping pong table, and there's a pigeon on each side of there. The pigeons are playing ping pong. Literally, it's one of the greatest television performances in my mind. By the time Ray had worked up a sweat by the third break of that show, you couldn't wait to see which ping pong player, which pigeon was going to win the show. Guido won.
Let me open it up to anyone who has any questions about. Raise your hand. We'll in the back.
Well, I think you've done a very good job of promoting the show, except for one thing, you haven't said where we can get it. What channel, where, what time?
TLC.
Trading Spaces and a lot of the story shows we do are on TLC. I don't know, it depends what cable you have. We are doing actually a new show based on Trading Spaces, but a children's version of Trading Spaces, which we're really excited about. It's our first kind of foray into that market. It's called Trading Spaces Boys versus Girls, and it's also our first network show because it's on NBC Saturday mornings at 11. Wow. That was a lot of fun.
You know, what's funny about that question is, really, when we started this company, who knew what TLC was? It was called the Learning Channel. And when I started the business, there was no cable at all. There was nothing. And to ask the question about where it is, that's the chaos. The reason we're in business is because of that question, which is, where is it? Where do I get that? There's so many channels. There's so much programming everywhere. How do you make a difference? What do you have to do to get people? And also, I was hired by Don McGannon. We all started in broadcasting literally on, I think it's now July 7th. We signed a deal with 20th Century Fox, and we're doing our first syndicated broadcast show, which will air around the country. It's taken us 13 years to get back so that you don't really have to ask that question, where is it running? It's just taken a long time. Cable.
And how many times does that run a week, Trading Spaces?
Trading Spaces runs 14 times a week now.
14 times a week.
But, yes.
But you're talking about the Bruce Springsteen song, right? 57 cables and nothing on.
Yeah, really.
Any more questions?
Ray, did you take your seat at the Evening Magazine archives?
I worked out a deal with KYW to go through them, and there's no master list that exists for all 4,000 episodes. So we're going to send a couple people in, catalog everything that's there, and then I'll go through and pick out what we need. And they've agreed to let me use their dubbing facilities, which is a really nice gesture.
It'll take about 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mentioned to them, what a great show that would be. They probably had every known personality in that 20 or 30 years on television. You could do a retrospective, maybe a series of retrospectives with all of these people on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Philadelphia history on those. And you know, I think the thing that I think we are most proud of is that we have been able to stay in this community. I look out at here and I see faces of people that have been much more important to the broadcasting community than we could ever hope to be. There's Trudy and Ed Shockey and Dory. I'm looking at all these people going, these people are like real heroes. But I think the thing you are most proud of is that we've proven that you can do national television out of Philadelphia.
Hallelujah.
And
Hallelujah.
that is the thing we're most proud of. First Dick Clark, and then us.
Questions? In the back.
Do you have any more food programs in the pipeline, and do you have any programs focusing on the Philadelphia area in the pipeline?
Well, right now we have one food show called Epicurious that airs on the Travel Channel, with Michael LaMonaco, who was the chef of Windows on the World, and boy, there's a story about Michael.
That's a spin-off from HGTV, is that what that is?
No, that isn't. That used to be on Discovery.
Oh,
It moved to Discovery Travel because it's a cooking show, but it involves all kinds of travel as well. But Michael was in the World Trade Center the day of the bombing. He was on his way up to his restaurant on the top floor. His glasses needed a screw. He decided he was going to go down and get them fixed, and then he would go up. And when he was in the glass repair stores when it happened, so his story.
We stopped the show for a year just to let him. He raised many, many, many millions of dollars. There were many workers in the World Trade Centers who had nothing. They were migrant workers, just people without insurance, making minimum wage. And he raised almost $8 million. We did a couple pieces to try to help, but really he just did a great job. But we're coming back again. We're going to go into production in the studio in the fall, and happy to have him back. He's totally transformed as a human being, I have to say. It's very exciting to see someone be able to go through that experience and come out of the other side.
Because he figures everything now is a gift, huh?
But more about food shows. Food shows are information-oriented shows, and one of the issues that we deal with is what do the people that buy our products from us want? And what they want from Banyan is they want more of a fusion. They want more entertainment. They don't want a food show from us anymore. We're not even able, at this, because of who we, training spaces and some of the other work that we're doing on TLC, the daytime block, a wedding story, a dating story, a baby story, and a makeover story. So if we're going to do a food show for somebody, it's probably going to have an entertainment twist in it. It's probably going to have great talent in it that sometimes there's some conflict, some sense of jeopardy, but still you come to the end of it with an outstanding reveal, and it's probably going to have a budget, so it's probably not going to be on the Food Network.
You can really get the Food Network. There are people there are unbelievable. They're so good, and they know exactly what they're doing, and we have a very good relationship with them. But I won't mention any of them. If you go to one of the highest ranking executives at the Food Network, this will show you the influence of that show. Is that on her wall there's a huge plaque at the Food Network, but the plaque says the top 10 reasons why Trading Spaces works. So everyone is trying to figure out what is it about this show that we can use to influence our programming and make it, give it an infusion of life.
Can we get a copy of that list?
That's a great one. Questions? In the back?
With reality shows becoming so popular, how come the major networks aren't coming after you to put your shows on major networks?
Well, we did, as I said, we signed a deal with 20th Century Fox just for syndication. We felt we wanted to try to do. We had a wonderful run. There was an article in Philadelphia Magazine last year that didn't paint it exactly the way that it was, but there was a gentleman at Discovery. His name was Chuck Ingle. He was Susan's boss at PL030618. Chuck got fired from every major company in America, but he was an outstanding programmer, and we were able over that period of time to really develop just what the three of us have, which is an opportunity to talk every day and collaborate on television. And so we built that daytime block, and that added a lot of value to TLC that led to Trading Spaces. We're trying to do that with 20th Century. So we never worked in syndication, and they came to us, and we're in the middle of now building a block for them. But remember that reality television, we started reality television 8 years ago. What it means today, the perversion, is there's primetime reality, which is essentially rats in a maze, right? Put people in difficult sexual situations and then see how it plays out, and there's a reductive mechanism to it. It works very well. That's a punch-through event for them. They use that. They bind all their promotional events, and while they get a quick, they get a quick ratings rise out of it, they can sell it again for the next series. It doesn't really help day to day. We're in a different business. Our business is every day in, day out. Our shows have to rate well. So they're kind of, last year we were nominated, Susan Ray and I, for Primetime Emmys for Trading Spaces, and in the same category was Survivor, the first year of it. Neither one of us won. West Wing won, the episode they did the week after 9/11, which we applauded, obviously. It was such a great honor to be nominated in the same category, but there you are. That, in reality television, to have Survivor on one end, which was a brilliant promotional device, and being repeated now over and over again, and then on the other side, a show that runs 14 times a day, 14 times a week rather, but they're both they're called the same thing, reality television, but we just are in a different business. We're there for the viewer every day. They have to come back every day and see our shows and feel good about them. That's what we're doing. I don't think the television network will ever buy the kind of shows that we're doing right now, by the way, because they're not in that business.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Finally, you went. I was even magazine with such a forecast of things to come, but you never tried, or have you, to duplicate that show with this market?
To duplicate the magazine? Yeah. Not yet, anyway. I think that, television is cyclical, and I think that, things will come back. The other night I turned on ABC, and they were doing a special with That's Incredible. And they had all the hosts back for That's Incredible. And I think they did that to see how well it would play out in the ratings, because if it did well, I think they're going to bring the series back. So, what happens with cable now, the good thing about cable is that there's so many venues and so many networks, but they all are niche. They have food and sports and history and that kind of thing. What ED Magazine were all of those things in one television show. So now viewers, if they're interested in celebrities, can go to E! If they're interested in cooking, can go to the Food Network. If they're interested in sports, they go to ESPN. So it's difficult to find, it's difficult now, anyway, in the viewer, in this mentality, to do one show that addresses all of those things. Magazine shows are probably not going to play well right now, Trudy, but I think that, they might come back, and I think that, it's all about how viewers think,
Another question, this is sort of technical. Half hour, you're doing a show, like we're trying to do, half hour or hour shows,
I'm looking at Jan because he's responsible for that, for the sales.
What sells?
If it's half hours sell, yes. Hours are better television.
Okay.
Really, an hour of time in reality, in terms of what we're doing, we can find the viewer in longer. And our rate, if you just look at how the ratings work, the outflows. All our shows work well because here's the secret. Whatever your lead-in is, if it's a 0.1, make sure you do a 0.2 on the way out. If it's a 5, make sure you do a 6. And hours just work better that way, but they're really buying half hours because in television, they wanted to reduce the risk. It was the same way when all of us were doing, it's 20 years ago, no difference. And so the risk is reduced by running a half-hour show because now you can marry it with another half hour and you probably will keep your job another 6 months. In Hollywood, 18 months. 18 months from the top of the network to out now. So if we're going to play with someone who's not speaking to us, just mark it on the calendar, because we're going to be together for the rest of our lives, and then eventually we'll be gone and we'll try something else when it's there.
We're going to wrap this up. Anyone else?
Your scheduling of your show, you said 14 times a day. Are there different, or 14 times a week, are there different episodes, or is each day the same one?
Different episodes. I mean, the network schedules them, but they always will run different episodes. And I think what they also try to do is run different episodes at different times so that you're not likely necessarily to see the same one. But one of the things that has been amazing to us about cable, now we're used to it, but when we started, is that's the way they do it. We produce 65 episodes of A Wedding Story, and they run that 4 or 5 times a day. So they go through all the new shows in a matter of weeks. But they have found that people will continue to watch it, although this year the orders have been a little bit bigger, which we're happy about. But it's amazing the way cable can do that, and I think now broadcast and syndicators and people like that are looking at it and saying, well, wait a second, can we learn anything from that? Because obviously their money, their efficiency is a lot better.
Anything else on the drawing board you haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I want to ask Jerry.
I'm sorry.
I want to ask Ray. You're the big entrepreneur, the three of you collaborated beautifully together for all these years. Do you miss being on the other side where you used to be for so long?
I really don't, to be honest with you. Even the first day.
We asked him for his autograph a couple times a day. We bring him coffee. We do makeup when he wants.
As long as they have Emmy on in my trailer, I'm happy.
You missed the clothing allowance, I think.
I do. This is the first day I shaved in about 8 days, because I don't have to shave anymore. And I really like the freedom of not doing it on the air. And I like being judged more for the product that we can put out and the producing that we do, more than by how I pronounce the word, whether I was really articulate or not, because I'm not that articulate. I think my way through that on air thing for a long time.
But I really do. I filled in a Good Day Philadelphia a couple of years ago, a year ago, for a couple of weeks, and I loved it. And I really thought, you know, you put the IFB in, and you know, the adrenaline starts flowing, you know, because you're getting countdown to air, and you get a little butterfly thing, and you go, I can do this, I really can do it. But then, I think I enjoyed it so much because I didn't have any restrictions on me to be any way. I just was able to be, you know, just be free. So I really don't miss it. I love what I do right now. I love what I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank them from Philadelphia, Banyan Production. Happy to have you. National and international. Great event. Thank you very much, Susan. We appreciate you all being here. This ends our series for this particular run. We start again in September. We've got a lot of big shows and big things to do. We'll be filling you in on all the activities. Have a very wonderful summer. Thank you all for coming.